If we get more cuts from the Fed, the market is looking perhaps for another 50 basis points from here. Is that going to succeed in loosening financial conditions? Didn't work yesterday.
I don't think so. I think it's good. It helps. But the bottom line will be the possibility of further tax cuts. I think if Trump is able to put into force further tax cuts, then that will help more than the interest rate cuts.
Mark, what about stepping in with tariff relief? I mean, tax cuts might be harder to deliver in an election year, or is that a real probability? What about stepping back on the tariffs and tariffs that he's already got in place?
Yes, that would help to some degree, but don't forget, it's not only the U.S. that's involved here, but it's a global situation. China is the supplier of parts globally. For example, automobile parts going to Mexico, which eventually end up in the U.S., is the kind of thing that you see. It's a global phenomenon. So you have to, if you're going to cut tariffs, you got to do it globally. And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Mark, has the U.S. equity market found a bottom yet?
I don't think so. From the looks of it, I think you're probably going to see further weakness. As you can see, the Fed cut really hasn't had that much impact. And further cuts probably are not going to do that much good. As I said, I think the real key would be tax cuts so that these companies can survive. There are a lot of companies going to go bust based on this current situation.
Let's just dig a little bit deeper into the calls. We've got Scott Maynard saying another 15% lower on equities and 1/4% in treasuries. Give us the Mobius call. If it gets worse, how bad does it get for bond and stock?
I think it can be a lot worse than we had with SARS. Let's put it that way. Unless China is able to ramp up production. I noticed that the Chinese government is trying to ship workers to their place of work and trying to push up production again. But a lot depends on that, their ability to get the supply chain working again. And I think we'll be able to assess that in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But in the meantime, the markets will be very weak and companies will be really concerned because usually they have 2 or 3 weeks. You know, the just-in-time situation with many of these companies creates problems now because if they don't have any inventory, in 2 or 3 weeks, they're in trouble.